Good afternoon, everybody. This is Holloway with the National Weather Service for Alaska statewide weather. Couple options for you. 1-800 number and weather.gov/Alaska are both designed to help you further refine your weather search. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at the email list at the bottom of the page. For the hazardous weather map, pretty quiet actually across the state on the map. We do have some red flag warnings out for portions of the Alaska range, and that is out for Thursday for the eastern and central Alaska range, and that also extends down in the Tanana Flats, some of that area down there. So watch for some red flag warnings out again for Thursday. The timing is basically through 9 p.m. today and noon to 9 p.m. on Thursday. So we'll be looking for that. Also, we do have some special weather statements out for much of the Brooks Range and portions of the North Slope for heavy rainfall expected in the Brooks Range Thursday through Friday evening. So watch for those thunderstorms across that area. For the fire danger, continuing on that theme, I was looking at the fuels and the areas that have pretty good fuel and fire index right now is portions of the Yukon Flats up there, and then also, as we noted in the Wawa map, some high fire issues there in the Alaska range, and also noticed some areas down there in southwest Alaska. So be cognizant of those dry fuels out there at this point. Looking at the satellite, you can see a low pressure system near Sand Point, near the end of the Alaska Peninsula, spreading clouds and precipitation into the Gulf region. Did see some moderate rain beginning to show up there in the eastern Kenai Peninsula, also approaching the outer coast of the Panhandle, and some showers showing up in the Cook Inlet region in the Alaska range, and also some development of thunderstorms up there along the Brooks range, but otherwise some rain showers throughout much of the Bering Sea and eastern Bering Sea down through the southwest with some shower activity there. But again, we're going to be watching this system bring in some moderate to heavy rain along the Gulf Coast and in the Panhandle. So what does this look like on the surface map for today's weather? 974 millibar low there with an occluded front, Trophy Point near Kodiak Island, warm front stretching out across the northern Gulf, warm front back down into the Gulf region into the northern Pacific. Otherwise, again, some moderate rain showing up, moderate to heavy rain showing up there along that front, and some thunderstorm activity across the interior and along the Brooks range, some light showers across the southwest with a thermal trough. For tonight's weather, that low continues to fill a little bit, 974 millibar low now with an weakening occluded front, moderate to heavy rain down through the Panhandle into the northeast Gulf Coast and into Prince William Sound, some rain showers further inland across the Copper River Basin into the southwest, thermal trough across the interior, and some lingering rain showers expected along the Brooks Range, North Slope area. Otherwise, some lingering rain across much of the Bering Sea and into the Aleutians. For Thursday's weather, looking at, again, some thunderstorm activity in the afternoon and evening along the Brooks Range and across portions of the interior. Otherwise, some lingering moderate rain now across the Panhandle in Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai Peninsula, and some rain down along the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. And that low now 982 millibar low with a weak trough poking out from that low pressure system out there near, again, the end of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, high pressure poking into the southern end of the Panhandle, 1,023 millibars there. For Friday's weather, again, some afternoon thunderstorms expected in the Brooks Range, thermal activity up there, those thermal lows, some lingering rain showers along the Gulf Coast and down through the southwest and Alaska Peninsula, and that weakening low, now 996 millibar low there. For low temperatures, for Thursday morning, we're looking at Ketchikan 53, 55 in Sitka, 52 in Haines, 49 in Yakutat, looking at 49 in Middleton Island there, 48 in Valdez, 52 in Anchorage, 50 in Talkeetna, 49 in Iliamna, King Salmon 45, Kodiak 47. And for Thursday afternoon, high temperatures 61 in Ketchikan, 58 in Sitka, 59 in Haines, 58 in Juneau, 54 in Yakutat, 56 in Valdez, 61 in Anchorage, 62 in Talkeetna, 59 in Iliamna, 58 in King Salmon, 53 in Kodiak. For low temperatures Friday morning, 56 in Ketchikan, 54 in Sitka, 53 in Juneau, 50 in Yakutat, Valdez 47, 51 in Anchorage, Talkeetna 47, 45 in King Salmon, and 47 in Kodiak. For high temperatures Friday afternoon, 65 in Ketchikan, 58 in Sitka, 60 in Haines, 57 in Yakutat, 56 in Valdez, 58 in Kenai, 58 in Homer, 54 in Kodiak, and 58 in King Salmon. Up to the North Slope now, low temperatures Thursday morning, looking at Kaktovik 36, Utqiagvik 32, 37 in Point Hope, 50 in AKwx Pass, 59 in Fort Yukon, 52 in Eagle, 58 in Fairbanks, 54 in Tanana, 56 in Galena, 54 in Nome, and 37 in Sabunga. High temperatures Thursday afternoon, Kaktovik 47, Utqiagvik 38, Point Hope 45, 65 in AKwx Pass, 72 in Arctic Village, 82 in Fort Yukon, 80 in Eagle, 78 in Fairbanks, 73 in Tanana, 71 in Fairbanks, 71 in Galena, 61 in Nome, 45 in Sabunga. For Friday afternoon, or Friday morning temperatures, looking at Kaktovik 34, 31 in Utqiagvik, 35 in Point Hope, 46 in AKwx Pass, 53 in Arctic Village, 56 in Fort Yukon, 50 in Eagle, 54 in Fairbanks, 50 in Tanana, 51 in Galena, 49 in Nome, 38 in Sabunga. For high temperatures Friday afternoon, looking at 74 in Fort Yukon, 36 in Utqiagvik, Point Hope 43, 73 in Fairbanks, 65 in Galena. Low temperatures down through the southwest now. Thursday morning, looking at Bethel with 51, 46 in Dillingham, 45 in Cold Bay, Dutch Harbor 47, 43 in Shemya, and 45 in St. Paul. For high temperatures Thursday afternoon, looking at 61 for Bethel, Antioch 61, McGrath 68, 57 in Dillingham, and 56 Cold Bay, Dutch Harbor 53, 48 in Shemya, and 55 in St. Paul. For low temperatures Friday morning, looking at McGrath at 47, Ebonic 49, Bethel 46, 46 in Dillingham, Cold Bay 45, 46 in Dutch Harbor, 43 in Shemya, St. Paul 44, Adak 43, and then for high temperatures Friday afternoon, looking at 65 in McGrath, Antioch 59, 62 in Ebonic, Bethel with 60, 56 in Dillingham, 56 in Cold Bay, Dutch Harbor 54, 48 in Nikolsky, Adak 50, 47 in Shemya, St. Paul 53, Sabunga 45, Nome 55, and then over in Uniaclete 61, and again 62 in Grayling.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the aviation forecast for Thursday morning, beginning with flying weather, looking for IFR conditions across portions of the Panhandle, and that extends up into the northern Gulf and down through the Cook Inlet region and the south side of the Alaska Peninsula and into the Aleutians, as well as the eastern Bering Sea, and again IFR conditions up there along the Arctic coast. For Thursday afternoon, IFR conditions more extensive across the Panhandle now for Thursday afternoon, and that extends over into the northern Gulf. Otherwise, some IFR conditions down through the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Bering Sea, and into much of the Aleutians, and again some IFR conditions just off the Arctic coast, again for Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, IFR conditions continues across the Panhandle and the northern Gulf and portions of the lower Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, and south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, IFR conditions through much of the eastern Bering and into the central and western Aleutians, and again some IFR conditions forming across the North Slope for Friday morning. And by Friday afternoon, some thunderstorms showing up across the Brooks Range, portions of the interior, and down through the southwest. Otherwise, IFR conditions along the North Slope, and again across the Panhandle, with some clearing across the southern end of the Panhandle there, with marginal conditions showing up. Otherwise, some IFR conditions across portions of the Alaska Peninsula and in the Bristol Bay region, otherwise spread throughout the Bering Sea and Aleutians, and again some IFR conditions along the North Slope. Past conditions on Thursday, AKwx, VFR with some afternoon thunderstorms, same for Adigan. And Lake Clark and Merrill, looking for marginal conditions there, same for rainy in the Alaska range. Windy, marginal, but some improvement during the day. On Thursday, Isabel, much the same there. Mentasta, VFR. Tenedo went for marginal but improving to VFR conditions. Portage, marginal, but look for IFR conditions in Prince William Sound. And past conditions for Thursday for Chilkoot and White, marginal, but decrease into IFR conditions during the day. For freezing levels, anywhere between 10 and 8,000 feet across much of the mainland. Surface freezing level across the Arctic coast there, otherwise between 10 and 12,000 feet across the Panhandle, and anywhere between 8 and 4,000 feet across the Alaska Peninsula, and anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 across the central and eastern Aleutians. For icy conditions on Thursday, looking at around 10,000 feet with isolated moderate across portions of the southwest and in Bristol Bay and Cook Inlet region, and that extends over into the Aleutians, with some areas of considerable moderate in the Bristol Bay region for Thursday. Jet stream on Thursday, looking at 155 knots coming into the Gulf region around the low pressure system in the Bristol Bay area. Otherwise, 95 knots coming across the Panhandle, northern Panhandle, 75 knots as you get into the central, and lesser amounts as you come to the southern end of the Panhandle. Otherwise, 105 knots in the Yukon Territory. Southerly flow in the Anchorage Bowl area, around 60 knots there, and more easterly flow as you get into YK Delta. And again, some around kind of clockwise flow, some northerly winds across the eastern Aleutians, and some westerly flow across the Arctic coast there. For 9,000 foot winds, there's a vertically stacked low in the Bristol Bay region. Otherwise, southerly flow coming into the Gulf, 60 knots out there. As you get into the Panhandle, 40 knots, 50 knots is Prince William Sound, and so then lighter amounts as you get into the interior. Otherwise, northerly flow around the backside of that low, 40 to 45 knots across the central and eastern Aleutians. For 3,000 foot winds on Thursday, there's that low again now on at 3,000 feet just off the southern tip of the Alaska Peninsula. Southerly flow coming into the Gulf with 30 knots there as you get in approaching Prince William Sound. Otherwise, 30 knots around the southern end of the Panhandle, light and variable across much of the mainland. And again, northerly flow coming across the Bering and into the Aleutians with 40 to 45 knots out there. For turbulence on Thursday, looking below 4,000 feet across much of the Bristol Bay region and Kodiak Island, below 6,000 feet as you come across the upper Cook Inlet region and into the Panhandle, with again some considerable moderate there. Otherwise, below 3,000 feet out there in the central Aleutians and western Aleutians as well. And again, for looking for turbulent areas across much of the southern part of the mainland.
On March 11, 2011, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake off the Pacific coast of Japan generated a tsunami. This series of ocean waves sped towards the island nation, with waves reaching 24 feet high. The result was devastation and utter destruction. Towns were engulfed by water and swept away. Farmland was flooded. Tens of thousands of lives were lost. The National Police Agency reported damages to hundreds of roads, bridges, and more than 100,000 buildings. The surging water flooded rivers and destroyed harbors. In some areas along the coast, tsunami waves reached 6 miles inland. Tsunamis not only cause severe damage when they first strike land, but also as the water recedes back to sea. Tsunamis can inflict this type of damage because of some unique features. As tsunami waves travel across ocean basins, they may be as little as a few centimeters high, but they extend down to the ocean floor. This is different than traditional waves, which are only surface features. Tsunamis can also travel hundreds of miles per hour in the open ocean. As these waves approach a coast, the shallowing ocean floor slows the waves down and pushes the water mass upwards. The quicker the ocean floor transitions from deep to shallow, the greater potential for a higher wave height. So, tsunamis that experience this sudden shift into shallow water can have the height and momentum to pack a serious punch. Unfortunately, Japan found itself in this scenario. This image shows how abruptly the Japanese islands rise out of the ocean. Other coastal areas in the region have much more gradual slopes. The earthquake on March 11th was the most powerful known to hit Japan, and the tsunami it created had the necessary ingredients to make it such a deadly and destructive force. "80 miles east of Japan, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake rocks the ocean floor. This disturbance causes a transfer of energy from the seafloor to the ocean, generating a series of ocean waves, known as a tsunami. In about 20 minutes, waves strike the Japanese coastline. Other nations go on high alert because the tsunami will propagate or spread throughout the Pacific Ocean. As the tsunami radiates outward from Japan, it encounters a variety of ocean features, such as ridges and underwater volcanoes, which guide the tsunami and create a complex pattern of scattering and reflective waves. In 8 hours, the waves reach the Hawaiian Islands, and in 9.5 hours, they hit the west coast of the United States. In 16 hours, the tsunami reaches the Indian Ocean and New Zealand, and by 22 hours, the entire Pacific Ocean had been affected. The impact of a tsunami can be highly variable because of the complicated interactions with ocean features and coastline elements. Wave height and speed will differ from place to place. Since tsunamis can be hundreds of miles long and travel thousands of miles away from where they originated, they are considered a worldwide threat when they form. These are the sounds of a tsunami warning. They alert residents that a killer wave is about to strike. These sirens, however, are just a small part of the sophisticated warning systems that played a role in Japan and in the US during the Pacific Ocean tsunami in March 2011. Most tsunamis are generated by an undersea earthquake. Fortunately, Japan has one of the most advanced earthquake early warning systems in the world. It detects tremors, calculates the epicenter, and sends out warnings from over 1,000 seismographs scattered throughout the country. The The Japan Meteorological Agency issues the warnings and sends alerts to television and radio channels, the internet, and mobile phone networks. When the earthquake struck 80 miles offshore, warnings were generated in about 3 seconds. The tsunami warnings came 3 minutes later. These take longer because more complex calculations are involved and must factor in ocean data. Since the first tsunami wave struck the coastline within 20 minutes, the advanced warning provided some residents with crucial minutes to reach a safe area. While the earthquake sent powerful tsunami waves westward toward Japan, the tsunami also propagated east into the Pacific Ocean. Here, warnings are issued by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, operated by NOAA in Hawaii. NOAA maintains a large network of buoys with ocean floor sensors that are strategically positioned in the earthquake-prone zones of the Pacific. This system collects vital ocean data for tsunami forecasting. On March 11th, only 25 minutes after the earthquake struck, the first buoy station measured the tsunami and relayed information to Hawaii. Scientists used this data to run models and issue forecasts and warnings to nations throughout the Pacific. From there, local emergency managers decided what actions were appropriate to take for public safety. The earthquake and resulting tsunami devastated the Japanese coastline, causing damage that will take years to repair. While we can't prevent these forces of nature from happening, our early warning systems can help us prepare for the dangers headed our way.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, beginning with the ice edge. We have some pretty good clearing down through the Bering Strait, Norton Sound. There was a little bit of ice just north of St. Lawrence Island, but otherwise only ice in that area is over there in around eastern Russia. Also some pretty good clearing, lower concentrations of ice near Kaktovik, just off the Arctic coast there. So, marine forecast for southeast on Thursday. Inside waters, winds generally from the southerly direction, 20 to 25 with gusts of 40, so look for gale force winds in there. Otherwise, for the outside waters, looking at winds generally from the southerly direction, 25 knots, seas as high as 11 feet. Look for small craft advisory out there for Thursday. For Friday, inside waters, winds generally from a southerly direction, 10 to 15 with seas as high as 3 feet, and outside waters, winds generally from a southerly direction, 15 to 20 with seas as high as 8 feet. For the south central region on Thursday, Gulf region, winds generally from a southerly direction, 20 to 25 with seas as high as 9 feet, so look for small craft advisories on Thursday. Prince William Sound, winds generally from an easterly direction, at 20, seas as high as 4 feet, and for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the east at 20 to 25 with seas as high as 8 feet. So look for small craft advisory there, especially around the Kamishak Bay region. For Friday's marine forecast, Gulf region, winds generally from a southerly direction, 15 to 20 with seas as high as 8 feet. Prince William Sound, winds generally from the southeast at 15, seas as high as 3 feet. Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the east at 10 to 30 with seas as high as 9 feet. And again, look for small craft or gales there for the Kamishak Bay region on Friday. For Thursday's Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, winds around Kodiak Island 20 to 30 with seas as high as 10 feet. So look for small craft advisories there on Thursday. And then for the South Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the southeast at 25, seas as high as 11 feet. And again, small craft advisory there. And for the north side of the peninsula, winds generally from the east at 20, with seas as high as 7 feet. For Friday, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the southerly direction, 25 to 30, with seas as high as 13 feet. Looks like we're going to have small craft advisory again there on Friday. And for the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the south at 25, seas as high as 12 feet. North side of the peninsula, winds variable, 10 to 25 with seas as high as 5 feet there in Bristol Bay. For loose and chain Thursday, looking at winds from a northerly direction, 25 to 30 with seas as high as 11 feet. So look for small craft advisories there on Thursday. And for Friday, winds generally from the west at 20 to 25 with seas as high as 9 feet just south of Adak and Atka. For the west coast, winds generally from a variable direction, 15 to 25 with seas as high as 9 feet there near the Pribilofs, so small craft advisory in effect, probably for Thursday. And for Friday, winds generally from an easterly direction, 15 to 20, or actually 10 to 20 with seas as high as 4 feet, actually 5 feet there just south of St. Matthew Island. For Arctic coast on Thursday, winds generally along the Arctic coast there from a variable direction, 10 to 15, down through the Chukchi Sea, winds generally from the north at 20 to 30 with seas as high as 5 feet, and down through the Bering Strait, winds from the north at 25 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet. For Friday, along the Arctic coast there, Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from the north at 15, down through the Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from the northeast at 25 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet, and down through the Bering Strait 20 to 30 with seas as high as 7 feet. For tonight's weather, looking at that low near the end of the Alaska Peninsula, 974 millibar low with a weakening includer front stretching through the through the YK Delta and over into eastern Kenai Peninsula and over into the Gulf of Alaska with moderate to heavy rain from the Panhandle up through Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai Peninsula, otherwise showers as you move in further inland. Thermal low activity across the interior, bringing some afternoon and evening thunderstorms up there. And for Thursday's weather, thunderstorm activity over the Brooks Range, continued weakening low near the end of the Alaska Peninsula with 92 millibar low and a weakening trough, thunderstorm activity through the southwest and lingering showers across.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.